Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. Call Haloim La, Alahainawa, Abanawa, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Waha Rechakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to hopefully elect. This is the brother I now back with another lesson. Lord willing, is edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai. And today, just want to go into this quick, post that I saw concerning, annihilation. Annihilation is in the scriptures. It's in the scriptures. Maybe some people's understanding of it is skewed, but it's in the scriptures. All right. I'm just going through some scriptures to clarify it. And Lord willing, it's edifying. So, Christians have this this doctrine about, the lake of fire and what it is, and how it's more of a torment thing than it is a thing of destruction. And the scriptures speak about, a destruction to a certain people and a certain kingdom in a certain place, which when you read the scriptures is talking about a place that, the Lord has preserved for judgment, and a people that live in a certain place preserved for judgment. And anybody else that is slated for judgment, the theological belief that the wicked after the last judgment, and there's no theological belief. There's only the truth, and the truth is the wicked, is the so-called white man, The wicked is referring to the elites of the so-called white man, the 13 banking families of the world, DuPont's, Getty's, the Bilderbergs, so forth and so on, all the way down to your, modern day presidents, and, these are the wicked, that push, all these philosophies of ancient Rome, these wayward way of life, up is down, down is up, sweet is bitter, bitter sweet, good for evil, evil for good, dark for light, light for evil, light for dark, and cause everything to be upside down in this world. And it's their world. The scriptures say the earth is being given to the hands of the wicked. So this is their time to rule. And through their rulership, they've changed everything that was set up from the beginning about, how to rule and how to manage the Lord's footstool, his creation, man. So that's where we at in this time right now. Now, the last judgment, like it says after the last judgment, that's speaking of, the last trump, the last trumpet, as it is in the book of Revelations, which is speaking of nuclear annihilation, extinction level event, which will take the majority of life, pretty much all life in Babylon the Great will be annihilated. Okay. And the ones that will make it out of that annihilation is the remnant of Jacob. Okay. The children of Israel, the 144, the elect of Israel. That's who's going to make it out of there alive. Okay. And Lord willing, I'm of that number. And then what you'll have is the wicked will be preserved for their judgment. Okay. And we're going to go into some scriptures to kind of go through that. It says annihilationism is the Christian theological belief that the wicked after the last judgment will be totally destroyed and their consciousness extinguished, rather than suffering eternal conscious torment in hell. It says, is this your Bible belief too? They got some, comments. People. It says, what's this? It says, are you walking with God daily? This is a beautiful reflection on the spiritual gifts of the Spirit, as stated in KJV, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace. Walking with God daily. This doesn't really expound on it, but does Buddha believe in annihilationism? The Buddha explicitly rejected annihilationism, whatever that is, which is the belief that the self is destroyed at death. Instead, he taught the middle way between eternalism and nihilism. I read the KJV that the gift of God is eternal life, Romans 6:23, while Buddhism focuses on nirvana as the cessation of suffering and the cycle of rebirth. It is not described as the simple nothingness or annihilationism of a truly existing self. And then they added amen at the end of this. Destroyed, man. This is total caca, confusion. You know what I'm saying? That's what that is. You mixing Buddhism with Christianism, which both of them is not the way, but you can see that this person is completely out of their mind as what the truth is. I don't perceive this person as a Jake, but it doesn't really matter, because some Jakes do think like that. They're totally just lost. They don't have a clue. But, whatever. Just go into the comments to see what it can bring up. So, for one, the Edomites, which is the so-called white man, okay, if because there are some Edomites that are from the seed line of Jacob. They just look like Edomites on the flesh, okay? But their genealogy goes back to Jacob. Now, through time, they may have mixed with Edomites and come out looking like Edomites. Hell, I got a nephew that looks like Blake Griffin almost. So I know how that can look, how that can be. But his father is my brother, so I know he's a Jake. Act like one, talk like one. He just looks like his mom. Anyway, let's go through some scripture to kind of, well, let me do this. I had this overview of annihilationism. It says annihilationism is a Christian theological view that the finally wicked after judgment will cease to exist rather than suffer eternal consciousness torment in hell, challenging traditional doctrines by asserting their ultimate destruction or extinction, a concept linked to conditional immortality. Now, the scriptures speak about, absent in the body. I believe it's in Peter. Okay, I was wrong. It was in 2 Corinthians. Let's go there. Make it easier to see. All right. It says 2 Corinthians 5 and 6. It says, therefore, we are always confident, knowing that whilst we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord, which is true. Okay. The minute, you are in your body, you are absent from the presence of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, the Father of spirits, right? Who prepares your body and puts your spirit into the body so you can live on what we call earth, where you play out your judgment. These bodies are terrestrial. You can't leave the earth. And once your spirit leaves your body, you go back to the Father. Okay. Here goes the other part of it. It says, we are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord. Okay. So there it is. It says absent in the body is to be present with the Lord. So you are either here on this planet, on this earth, in the flesh, okay, and your spirit dwells within your flesh, or you are absent in the body and your body decays back to, whence it came forth, which is the earth, okay, and your spirit is back with Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, the Father of spirits, okay. Let's see, anything else we can get from this? Okay, it says final destruction. The righteous are ultimately, the unrighteous, Lakia, are ultimately destroyed, not preserved in eternal torment. Right. The righteous, the unrighteous are not ultimately destroyed, but how are they put in eternal torment? Well, first of all, let's go to Revelation 9:20. Okay. Revelation 9:20, it says, and the beast was taken. And now that beast is referring to this last rulership, this last age, which the age that we're in, okay, is ruled by the beast, the red dragon, which is the Roman Empire. That's the last beast, that dragon. 7 heads, 10 horns, okay, which goes into NATO and the EU, okay, which America is the head of, right? And 2 horns meaning the Republicans and Democrats, right? Much like in ancient world, it was, ancient Rome, it was the plebeians and the patricians, right? So now it says, and the beast was taken, okay, that whole system, the beast system, which the beast system is going to implement, mandate that mark, that RFID CHIP, okay, in the near future. Okay, and it says, and with him the false prophet. That false prophet is the Roman Empire, the Roman Catholic Church, should I say, Slovakia. Right? It says, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast. Right? So they deceived them that took the mark of the beast. Okay, and everybody that took the mark of the beast, it says, and them that worship the image. Okay, and you worship the image, you know what I'm saying, because you basically sold your soul, and that goes for Jakes too, you sold your soul, man. These celebrities, okay, Diddy, Rihanna, all of them, man. Jay-Z, it says these both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. See that? A lake of fire. So that's the judgment, the final judgment, which that lake of fire is speaking of the nuclear missiles that's going to hit this place, Babylon the Great, America. Okay. And from the firmament, the elect is going to look down, and that's what it's referring to, when it says the lake of fire. Let me see. I think it's in 20. find something real quick. Okay. Revelations 20:6 says, "Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection." Okay. On such the second death have no power, but they shall be priests of the Most High and of Yahushua Mashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. Okay. So the first resurrection, okay, the second death, okay, that second death is speaking of the nuclear missiles hitting this place, man. You know, and taking out the majority of this land we call America and making it a damn desert. Okay. While we're here, let's go down. Revelations 20:10, it says, "And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire." And that devil, which the word devil just means deceiver, okay, which right now the man that's playing the deceiver right now is none other than Esau Edom, the so-called white man. He's the one that's deceiving the whole earth, all right, including you Jakes, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, okay, in the near future, to take this mark and basically brand yourself in alliance to him and his empire, man, to be slaves underneath him forever. Okay, that's what his desire is. Okay, but the elect of Israel will not bow down to that. Okay, it says, "And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are." See that? The beast and the false prophet are going to be in the fire too. Right? "And shall be tormented day and night forever and ever." Now, when it says forever and ever, you know, the Christian doctrine goes into, you know, you're going to be alive. You're going to be up. You're not going to be able to go to sleep. You're going to be in the fire. You're going to have a red devil with a tail and horns with a pitchfork, like poking the hell out you all day and all night. Your skin going to be burning. Worms going to be eating your flesh. And you're going to die and keep coming back alive. And they're going to do it all over again. And you're going to be burning. It's just, that's your fate for eternity. You're just going to keep doing that over and over. You know, but that's a misunderstanding, or, you know, that's not what it's really speaking about. You know, when you go into that word forever, it says aeon, which is an age. Okay, it says in number 3, it says period of time, age. Okay, that's what it's talking about. Because the Lord said he's going to put us, okay, his fury against us, right, was kindled forever, right? But here it is, we're coming to the end, okay, of our punishment. You see, so that doesn't, when it says forever, sometimes it doesn't mean literally forever. It just means a long period of time, which, to us, that our lives extinguish at about 75 to 80 years old, if you even make it that far, per se, a lifetime, that's a long time, it seems to us, because we're not the Most High. Is a day, with the Most High is 1,000 years. That's one day to him. You see? So our little, 70, 80 years that we're here seems like forever, especially when you're being punished. I've been to the, to jail or whatever, and spending time behind bars, it's like, shoot, man, a day seems like it takes forever sometimes to go by. Time, in the state of punishment seems like it takes forever, man. So that's a period of time. Okay. I want to also go to 14. It says, Revelation 20 and 14, it says, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death, right? And that's what I was speaking of earlier. The missiles is the second death. That's the last trump, the final judgment before Yahushua, rulership start to come into play. And it says, and whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire, right? So you jakes that are not written in the book of life, if you not part of the elect, okay, you're going to suffer that punishment, okay? But in the kingdom, you will be rebirthed in the kingdom. All Israelites will be okay. Isaiah 45 and 17, it says, but Israel shall be saved in the Lord, Yahweh Shai, with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. Right? Now you go to that word, and then everlasting is, it says I will okay, long duration, antiquity, futurity, forever, ever, everlasting, evermore, perpetual, old ancient world, okay, everlasting, indefinite. You see, that's different from the ever, forever that I looked up earlier when it says the punishment was going to be forever. This is different word. This is different meaning. Okay, and yes, I know it's in the Hebrew, but it's a different meaning. So Israel, okay, is going to be saved in Yahweh Shem Shai, okay, for everlasting salvation. Okay, which means we're not going to die. We're not going to suffer death anymore. We're going to be immortal. Okay, so there's a difference between that annihilation that's going to happen, okay, which does not extinguish the soul, but definitely extinguishes life as far as here on earth, and your spirit will return to the spirit, the Father of spirits, man. Now, concerning the wicked, which is the so-called white man, Esau, Edom, the Lord has a plan for them, okay? And that does involve them being annihilated, okay? But it's going to take them to go through their punishment, which okay, Revelations 18:6. It says, I'm going to start at verse 4. I don't want to make this too long. I'm going to start at verse 4. It says, and heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. And the plague, okay, and her, when it's talking about her, it's talking about Babylon the Great, the daughter of the Chaldeans, which is America, okay? That great whore, okay, that sitteth upon many waters, okay? That is referring to when it says, come out of her, my people. This beast system, it says, and my people is speaking about Israel, okay? That ye be not partakers of her sins, the transgressions that, she set up, which the ultimate transgression is allowing this so-called white man to brand you with his system, his RFID CHIP, put under your skin in your right hand or your forehead and brand you as his slave, right? So it says, and that ye receive not of her plagues. The ultimate plague is what? These missiles, these ICBM missiles that, all these nations possess. China, Russia, India, Iran, all these nations are going to turn and shoot their missiles at this place for her treachery against them. And it's the Lord's determination that they do that because that's her punishment. Okay, it says, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquities. It says, reward her even as she rewarded you. And what did she reward the Israelites with? Okay, captivity, man. Right? Okay, 13. All right. Revelations 13:10, it says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And who are the saints? Okay. Who are the saints, man? The saints. Psalms 40, 149, 148 and 14. Okay. 148 and 14, it says, he also exalteth the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Okay, that's who the saints are. All right, it says, here is the patience and faith of the saints. Okay, so that's talking about Israel. Okay, and it's saying, whoever leadeth in captivity shall go into captivity. Whoever killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Is that not what Esau, Edom, so-called white man, did to us? You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay. The scriptures say reward her double. All right. Reward her double. So they got us for a good 500 years and enslaved us. We still in their possession. Okay. They refused to let us go. Okay. So here it is. We got to serve them. Reward them double. According to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. Okay. So we're going to take her children, and we're going to put them in slavery, right? Kind. 2 Thessalonians 1:6, it says, seeing it is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. You see that? It's a righteous thing to recompense, to pay back. Okay? Trouble to them that trouble you. Tribulation to them that trouble you. Right? It's a righteous thing. And they've done it. They've done it for centuries now, right? So now the Lord is going to give them opportunity to drink up that same cup. Okay? And once that 1,000-year period, because we rewarded her double. They got us for 500. We're going to get them for 1,000. We're going to extinguish them. Annihilate them, if you will. Right? Because it says right here. It says, Obadiah 1:18, it says, in the house of Jacob shall be a fire, in the house of Joseph a flame, southern and northern kingdom together, in the house of Esau for stubble, so-called white man, Esau, Edom, and they shall kindle in them. Okay, we're gonna fuck them up for 1,000 years, slavery, punishments. Okay, all in righteousness, righteous indignation. The Lord is going to give us the spirit and take that spirit of docility, if that's a word, docile spirit off of us, we gonna turn into some damn lions, and we gonna tear into these motherfuckers for 1,000 years. Hardcore slavery. They gonna clean up the earth. All right. Okay. It says, and they shall go, Isaiah 2:19. Okay. It says, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth for fear of the Lord Yahweh Shemar Shai, and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. Right? You see that? So that's speaking of the bunkers, okay, underneath the earth, and the mountains they gonna hide. They got the bunkers in the Midwest, the bunkers in Washington State and Nebraska and all them places, right? The compounds they got to hide out, when these missiles are shot over here, they're gonna get in there, and the Lord will preserve them for slavery. Okay, Lord will preserve them for slavery. Okay, it says, in that day a man shall cast his idols of silver and idols of gold, which they had made each one for himself to worship, to the moles and the bats, to go into the clefts of the rock and into the tops of the ragged rocks, for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty. Okay, Yahweh Shemar Shai gonna send, Yahweh Shai down to wreak havoc, to tear into these motherfuckers. And they're going to be afraid. They're going to get in their bunkers. The Lord's going to preserve them for a time. It says, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. Okay. Obadiah 1:18, it says, in the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau a stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them. And there shall be not any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. See that? None. Not one. All right. Let's get another one real quick. Okay. Malachi 1:4 says, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished. And this happened during, the Renaissance. But we will return and build the desolate places. And this is what they're trying to do now. Build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts. Okay. How about Shemar Shai speaking to them? They shall build, but I will throw down. I'm going to throw down with these missiles. And they shall call them the border of wickedness. And the people against whom the Lord Yahweh Shemar Shai have indignation forever. See that? The Lord's anger is going to be kindled, upon them forever. Okay, and it says that word forever. Well, for it says ilam, long duration, antiquity, futurity, forever. Okay, basically the same word, okay, that was used, okay, for our rulership. So here it is. This is the same word, I will right? So, Lord willing, this is edifying. I know I was here, there, and everywhere, but Lord willing, it was edifying. Till next time, I say shalom. Abad the ball.